Hello and welcome back to the channel. It has been raining for the past 2 days since I got 12.5.1, and although I've driven it in the rain, I wanted to make a video with similar conditions to my other videos, so it's a fair comparison. I can say, however, that the auto wipers are substantially better than they were in previous updates. And driving around in 2 days worth of rain, I only had to manually activate the wipers once. And that is pretty darn good considering in the past I've had to manually activate the wipers consistently throughout the whole trip. Very confident pull out there, not sure. Whew, cutting that a little close. Have to say that 12.5 as a whole is very brazen as far as between that first stop sign and crossing that narrow bridge. It really does seem like full self-driving ever since the 12.5 update has been extraordinarily confident. I don't know if that confidence is misplaced or not, but I've been really keeping a close eye and ready to take over at any moment, and it just seems like it is making its maneuvers as of late with significantly less caution and way more confidence. And we're going to stop here, so I'm going to apply a little bit of the accelerator just to make this turn and not stop, since it's not necessary to stop at that sign. I would imagine that since the last several updates, it seems like the actual driving aspect has been getting really, really good. I can only imagine that it's a matter of time before it starts to include those addendum signs like no turn on red and stop except right turn. I really wouldn't be surprised if in the near future those abilities are activated in one of these updates coming up. Nice turn there. No traffic coming either way. Pulls out confidently. And that's an interesting pay attention to the road to get as I was looking left to right for traffic. I'm gonna give it a chance with these deep manholes up ahead, and if it doesn't look like it's going to miss them, I'm going to take over, because my nerves can only handle so much of it just really smacking into those manholes. Speed limit drops to 35. It's reducing the speed down to about 42, 41. So I know there's been a ton of reports about FSD not really just driving under the speed limit, and with all of the roads I travel on, it hasn't been my experience. It seems to drive a little bit over, and it's going to whack that manhole, so I'm going to take over here, and I'll just get through these 4 manholes and then reactivate. But my experiences have been that it drives 5 or so over. There are some roads where I have to take over because it actually drives more than 10 over, and that's just asking to get a ticket, especially when I'm driving the red car. Okay, and on my first test of 12.5, this road was being worked on, and it had to make a very sudden decision to go around it. In this case, it is not, and that road is open. Coming up to the stop sign here, nothing coming either way. And then if you did watch my last video, I had to take over here because it wanted to turn to the left. And I think it's because it thought that this was a closed road up ahead, and then when it finally realized it, it went straight. And although I took over that time, I've driven this road several times since, and every time it puts the turn signal on, and once it gets up a few feet, realizes that the road is open, turns the turn signal off, and actually goes straight and does it very well. That's why I know that I won't get you. Okay, this is a 2-lane road that the center lane isn't marked at all, so full self-driving last time kind of split the difference, went straight through the center, which is the wrong thing to do. And it doesn't look like that behavior is fixed. It's going to go straight up the line, and this is not the right thing to do in that case. Now we're kind of moving over to the line, so this is okay, and then what it needs to do here is stay toward the middle in order to go straight, as the lane splits into 3, left, right, and straight, and it does that just fine. There is a turn to the right up ahead, and it's a one-way road, so no traffic could be coming from the left. FSD always does like to stop here. I'm going to give it a little accelerator, but I always have to watch because it always wants to cut this curve a little close, and in this case it did not, so that was much more comfortable than it has been in the past. Okay, so this part here, the last several times it would get into the left lane, which is the behavior that I would like to see, since there are a couple deep manholes on this road, and they're also, not right this moment, but there's also a lot of traffic on this road that will stop to turn to the right, and it's a lot of stop and go whenever there's a lot of traffic. So getting into the left lane is the preferred thing to do. In this case, it does not. I'd had several drives with 12.5.1 prior in the rain, and it seems to want to favor this lane. However, what I did notice is that it no longer ignores turn signal inputs. So prior to this, if I were to manually tap the turn signal, it would think about it sometimes and then just turn it off and decide not to do the maneuver. And it would do that for several times, and if there was anyone behind me, they would think that there was something wrong with me because I would keep putting my turn signal on and looking like I was going to go, but never actually moving into the other lane. With 12.5.1, I've noticed that every single input from the turn signal is respected, and it actually completes the maneuver as long as it's safe to do so. Nice smooth slowdowns at red lights. I am very appreciative of that. It last several versions of full self-drive before 12.5 were a little bit aggressive when it came to stopping at red lights and stop signs. And it was definitely using the friction brakes. And the way that you can tell is there's a little green bar on S and X down below horizontally, and vertically on 3 and Y that will turn gray. The tip will turn gray whenever the friction brakes are being used, as opposed to regen brakes, and that lets you know that it's actually using your physical brake. 12.5 and now 12.5.1 seem to do that a lot less, and it almost appears as if it is truly looking ahead. And when it sees that there's a light, like in this case, it sees the light and it's slowing down gradually, as opposed to 12.3.6 and even 12.4 were kind of slamming their brakes on right around here, as opposed to this very gradual stop.
Ahí, aquí competencia ya no hay. Nadie se compara a tu style. Por eso andamos fire, por eso andamos. De todas las guiales, es la number one, es la buena mi male. Yeah, 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 yeah. Me dice que tal, si vamos a quemar, you know.
Handled that turn very well. Now it's going to go into the turning lane here. Has plenty of time to make it if it wants to go, and it is. And pulling in. Going straight into... I'm not sure where it's going. Is it going to park? And... almost. So, all right, I'll stop it from here. As you can see, it didn't do the best job, but it did pull right up into front, which is pretty cool.
Vamos a vivir la hippie life, vivimos del roce. Aquí todo es natural, no me cambia mi pose. Y estamos a los corte porque no me conoce. Tranquila hasta el fin. Aquí estamos flow pace, nunca flow play. Sé que somos happy porque estamos buen.
So I will get myself started on this road here. And it thinks the speed limit's 10, so I do have to put my foot on the accelerator a little bit until it catches up with itself and moves back to 25. A stop sign here with a turn that is kind of difficult to see. Doesn't look like there's anything coming. And pulls out. Not quickly, but didn't really slam on the accelerator either. And this light is going to turn red, and this is a no turn on red, and I assume that it's going to want to go here, so I'll have to disengage until the light actually turns green and I'm able to go. So, as expected, no, it doesn't recognize no turn on red signs yet. Feel like the day that it does that's going to be a very exciting day, because at that point I would really have drives that had 0 disengagements at all. Since 12.5 and now 12.5.1, I have had almost no interventions whatsoever, other than things like no turn on red signs, and occasionally there'll be something that FSD wasn't necessarily doing wrong, it was just something that was a little bit pushing my comfort level. Also gone in 12.5.1 is it's difficult to explain, but on 12.5 there was this little jerking where it would ever so slightly let off the brake and kind of not lunge forward, but like inch forward, like it was, you know, impatient and ready to go when it would be at stoplights and behind other vehicles. And it would, in some cases, actually physically kind of jar me as it was kind of creeping up a little bit, a ½ inch at a time, and then slamming on the brakes, then let off the brake, go up ½ inch and slam on the brakes. That behavior seems to be completely gone. It hadn't done it at all the past 2 days while I was driving in the rain, and it hasn't really done it at all this drive, which, by the way, is my first drive without it raining. Okay, some vehicles merging in here. What it should do is move over, and it is, but it's a little bit late there. There weren't any vehicles in the left lane behind me, so it had plenty of time and ability to move over earlier to let those folks merge onto the road. Nice early slowdown. I really can't say how much I appreciate that. I've thought for the longest time since this is a hardware 4 vehicle, so since version 11 was first introduced to it, I thought for sure that I would be replacing my brakes every 2 years based on how aggressive it was with the physical brake. But now it just seems so much better at looking ahead and seeing that there's a stop sign, a stop light, or stop traffic, and then just using the regen to gradually bring me to a stop.
Tierra de mi vida, con el bendición de la vida.
Nothing incredibly difficult about the road here other than it kind of bears over to the left and then goes back over to the right and then back to the left again. And there have been some updates in the past where it would ride the center line a little bit too close for comfort as there were vehicles in the right-hand lane, but the past few, it's been pretty darn good with that. Now it's getting into the proper lane here, and then this is another one of those instances where once you go through the light, the entire lane shifts to the left. So the left-hand turning lane is the turning lane, but as you're passing the turning lane, the lane that I'm in and the lane to the right, they shift over. And if there's vehicles next to you, you really do have to stay centered or closer to the left if there's no one making the turn. And that's exactly what it does here. mentioned this in my last video, and it's still true with this version, that I really do like how it allows the vehicle in front of me to get some distance. It doesn't accelerate with it. It accelerates a hair slower to allow it to put some distance between the vehicle in front and my car. In the past, it would accelerate right along with it, in some cases a little bit faster, and almost like riding its butt. And if they were to make a sudden maneuver to the left or right or stop, FSD would have to slam on the brakes also. In this case, it puts a couple car lengths between us and then gets up to speed so that it doesn't have to make any sudden maneuvers or sudden stops because the vehicles in front are either turning or slowing down or stopping for whatever reason. One thing that I did notice is that when it was raining and it was dark, even though this is a hardware 4 vehicle and the internal camera can see in the cabin at night, it would throw up please pay attention warnings even though I was looking straight ahead. I'm not sure if it had trouble with the reflections on my glasses or if there was something else going on, but they're not sunglasses, they're just regular old prescription lenses, and it definitely was giving me not just please pay attention to the road, but the actual red hands that you only get so many of before you get a strike. So after I received 2 of those, I didn't want to take any other chances, so I took my glasses off, and then it was fine for the remainder of the trip. But that is something to note, and the next time that we get a rain, which it seems like should be any day this week, either tomorrow or the next day, I'll try to take it out again and put my glasses on to see if any of that has been improved with 12.5.1. So far so good. Can't really tell from an automatic speed perspective since it's really just keeping pace with the vehicles in front of me. But it did not slow down like it has in the past for the 25 and 15 mile per hour sign, which is the school zone, and it would always slow way down, and I'd have to use the accelerator to kind of push it forward. So that has been rectified and right back up to 46 again. So I'm not seeing the same behavior that a lot of other folks are, where they have to give it a little bit of accelerator press in order to get up to speed because it's driving too slow. I definitely am having the complete opposite problem, which is in some cases it drives too fast. This is plenty comfortable. This is very normal, 5, 6, 7 over max. And I have a couple instances where it just is way, way too fast, but I haven't experienced that yet on 12.5. So slowing down a little bit too much for this turn, it needed to either slow down a little bit later or a little more gradually to not be going so slowly way before the turn. Another stop sign which we don't have to stop at. I'm going to give it a little bit of acceleration, and it's going to cut that too close. So this road and one other, whenever it wants to stop, if I allow it to stop, it will make the turn just fine. If I apply a little bit of acceleration, it starts to turn earlier, and in that case it'll go over the white line, and there's sort of like a big dip and a drain there, and I'll really bang into it. So I've done that before, not interested in doing it again, so I took over. But that is the difference. If I let it do its thing, it handles that turn just fine. I've let it stop before when there was no traffic behind me, and it's going to stop here again, which it shouldn't do. So I'm going to give it some acceleration here. So that's a regression that was introduced, but I will 100% take that regression over all of the massive improvements that have occurred. And I'll be glad when they fix it and it goes back to making that turn nice and smoothly. But in the meantime, with all of the things it's doing right, I can't complain.
Cuando comprendí que esto no me llevaba a algún lugar y te conocí, solo con un beso me hiciste el amor. Desde eso no quería nada más. Baby, contigo me siento bien, que feliz yo de ser tu mujer.
But as I was saying earlier, if I stop and allow it to stop with no traffic behind me, it will have no problems making that turn. But anytime I give it a little bit of accelerator, it just cuts the wheel too quickly, and then I end up in that little drainage area. Car coming, it's pretty far up. It does need to step on it a little bit here. So this is awesome that it's been making this fork, this little left on the fork. It never did it properly ever, and the one time that it actually made it, it ran through the grass to do it, and at no other point did it ever make that. So I'm very excited about that, but it's not perfect in terms of, it's only perfect if there's no one around. But if there's a vehicle coming, whether it's coming in on the same road in the opposite lane or coming down the hill on the fork, it just doesn't do it quickly enough, and it almost drives like it's making the turn because it's lost. So a little bit more confidence there will be appreciated, but it is awesome that it finally made it. So first drive without any inclement weather with 12.5.1, and really not a huge change at all. There hasn't been any regressions that weren't present in 12.5, and for the most part, having driven it for a few days now, I've made most of my drives with 0 interventions, so really can't ask for much more than that whenever you're looking for improvements. As it stands now, I would say that either .2 or .3 might be the release that everyone gets, and I would also expect the highway stack to be included in that, which I'm very excited about. But in the meantime, I'll keep testing, and if I find anything new, different, cool, I'll make sure that I fire up the video camera and make a video for everyone. So I really appreciate everyone stopping by the channel, and thanks for watching.